Well, welcome back, everybody. We have a great episode today. We are talking rally. We have Matt Gold from Dropper Gear Industries on the podcast, and we are super stoked to have him on because nobody is a bigger rally fan than him, I believe. I think he's been to enough events and he fully supports. And, Matt, I know that you and I spoke and we met when I saw that you were getting people together and trying to fund some of these rally teams and get volunteers out to the rally. So if you can just talk a little bit about what you do, I think that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, man, thanks for having me on the podcast. It's really nice to be able to get out there and just share the story with everybody out there, to all the different avenues of enthusiasts out there. But so to kind of to really answer that question here, I mean, you got to look at what Drop a Gear is. Drop a Gear is a motorsports brand designed to basically, as my slogan says, for the love of motorsports. The goal behind it is to basically cover all motorsports, right? Rally, drift, circuit racing, club racing, all the different things, right down to the grassroots level of SCCA stuff. My primary focus is rally right now because I started building a 2004 WRX rally car. A very interesting car showed up on my doorstep at my repair shop one day, and yeah, that became the forefront at the moment, which is my 1997 Subaru Vivio RXR. And
Hell
so
yeah.
I started digging into things a little bit more, and I realized that because I had been doing this stuff with racing for better part of the last 20 years, just more on the sidelines of things, I realized how expensive it was, and so I wanted to really give back to the community, but I also started seeing the shift with the way content was done, right? There wasn't everything was kind of, I mean, if you think about it, right, corporate mindset of things has kind of, let's just say, sterilized things a little bit, and we all remember how wild and crazy the early Hoonigan days was, the
Yep.
early donut days.
Yep.
Those guys really pioneered what it means to have that and that culture, right? So I have a lot of respect for all the stuff that Ken did and everybody on his team, and I want to bring that vibe back. But I'm doing it a little differently. So, the core following of the brand is basically how a lot of the funding is done on top of my current 9 to 5 job. But as I started digging into the racing stuff, I realized how expensive it is. And
Yeah.
I thought there's got to be a way that I can give back because I know that it's going to be a struggle for me. Well, and I see some of these other grassroots teams just absolutely crushing it going to these events. But then, you look at how much it costs to get there and it's like, wow, that's dedication. But then you see the teams that are like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, like we got this problem, we got that problem and stuff. So that prompted me to really start kind of opening up the doors to getting Rally more sponsorship at a grassroots level, as well as even on the volunteer level, because I noticed that I think it was the first time I noticed it was Southern Ohio. They were looking for volunteers up until the very last minute. And it was a really big push. And then I saw that for STPR and I kind of saw this theme, right? They get competitors there, but they don't have necessarily the volunteers. So I started by doing a sponsorship for volunteers. We actually sponsored, ironically, we sponsored Sue Ann Carson. I did
Mhm.
a giveaway through the site, buy a t-shirt, the typical stuff, right? But that got everybody into an entry pool for getting a full ride to LSPR. So Sue Ann Carson ended up winning. We did the live drawing. So I took her and a friend to LSPR and she got to volunteer and just enjoy the rally from that aspect.
Wow. Yeah.
And then that prompted me to actually create the next thing, which was Full Send Foundation, which is a nonprofit designed to do just that for volunteers and, grassroots drivers alike.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to support something that is not $5, maybe win a car, whatever these like giveaway things are, it's like this is like the money is going directly to people who want to be at these events and they can't afford it, or it's too much money, or it's too far. And so it's like really cool that you're helping them like find a way to get there and help the event
Mhm,
keep going, like
mhm,
because I did notice that from the events that I've been to that the volunteer staff is very slim. There's not always a ton of people there. Sometimes they have trouble finding people to help the events out. So, I mean, it's great that what you're doing because you're helping these, you're bringing people that might have never gone to that event, and you're bringing them to help out. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and 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 then on top of that too, at the end of 25, so right after LSPR, I noticed that so Tom Mayer, Dylan McKenna at of OK Rally, they had a really bad off in Boone Forest, right? Car went off into a ditch. He hit a rock, blew a ball joint, just sent the car off into a ditch, right? That's 2 years in a row, unfortunately for Tom, that rally particularly claimed his car to a ditch.
Yeah.
And so Tom was kind of instrumental in some of my own brand's movement going into 25. So I really pushed together and decided that I was going to do a full ride scholarship type thing for him to go to Snowdrift. So he could focus then the whole winter on getting the car back together in the off season, and he did a phenomenal job. And we got him to Snowdrift, and he did phenomenal there. And the rest of the season for him it's been amazing watching his progression with the car. His speed factor's up. He's even gotten a sponsor with Rally Sport Direct now, which is just freaking amazing to me. And that's the whole premise of why I created Full Send, because I want to be able to do that for at least one team a year, particularly in rally. But as I branch out, I want to be able to do this as well for other motorsports. So, right now it's
Yeah.
just me doing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not to sound or let's call it simplify it, but in a lot of ways, and I mean this in the most endearing way, it sounds like you guys in a lot of ways are a lifeline to some of these companies. There are some of these teams rather, not companies. Sorry, that's a bad term. These teams because they're teams at the end of the day.
Right.
But they're small, like you said, they're grassroots guys. People don't realize how much it really costs to
Well,
invest in motorsports.
Well, not
Yeah.
just that, but, like, the other point that I had is in rally like, what other motorsport costs more, right? Like, if you go funding drag racers, right? They're going down a straight line of payment unless they crash, right? It's
Yeah.
just the cost to get there and to race. You look at, all of these other, track-based racing, Grid Life, all of these other events. Even, you look at the guys from Formula Drift. It's the cost to get there and to race and whatever, but at the end of the day,
Minus blowing an engine.
these rally
which-
cars are going up,
Yeah, minus blowing an engine.
they're going a million miles an
That
hour.
levels the playing field sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, yeah, but Pat, you're not wrong, right? So the biggest thing is
Yeah.
that
100%.
the biggest thing, especially with drifting, right? Drifting is probably one of the lowest entry points outside of, SCCA and NASA stuff,
Yeah.
at your local, high school, because like Billy Petro's talked about it. Billy Petro does a lot of that stuff, with drifting and, the district countersteer crew and all of those guys, and I interviewed Billy, oh gosh, 2 years ago now. We went out to a shop in New Jersey, sat down with him, did a quick interview there, just kind of yapped about a bunch of stuff. But he talked about it. He's like, dude, it's the easiest thing. You go buy a $500, well, at the time, you go buy like a $2,000 car, throw some cheap tires on it. They don't even have to be good tires. They just need to be half there. And you just go rip around, and it might cost you $50 for an entry for the day.
Worst
That's-
case scenario, you zip tie your bumper back on at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you
Drift
just tell people,
stitches.
I was just hitting a clipping point.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why drift stitches are a thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Drift stitches started, if you think about it, those things started probably in the early 2000s when tuners just didn't feel like putting the bolts back in. And so they just screwed zip ties. They just drilled holes and ran zip ties
You're
in.
not
Whatever.
wrong. That was probably the early, let's call it the early lineage, if you will. But then it manifested because
Yes.
when you crack a bumper and you see, I'll say it, maybe let us know in the comments if you disagree, but I would call it some of the artwork that people do when they stitch their bumpers back together. It's pretty
Right?
well done, man.
Multicolored zip ties, a
And the
pattern.
whole spacing is even
It became an
across a
art form.
non-concentric crack. That's pretty hard to do, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bring back designer zip ties.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what's funny is my wife, we have chickens. She ordered name tags for the chickens, and it's literally just a zip tie with a little charm on it. And I was like,
I
who
could have
comes up
done
with
that.
this? This is like, I could have marketed this. Like, you kidding me? It's like, little Iron Man face. I'm like, what am I naming my chicken Iron Man? Like Tony Stark the chicken? Like whatever.
Well,
Ooh,
that's
that's actually a
awesome.
good name for a chicken, though. Tony Stark.
Well, one of my chickens is named Megatron. So
Ah, yes.
Ugh.
Oh, that's good. I like it.
Well, Matt, I wanted to kind of refocus onto this rally situation
Yeah.
because I want to talk a little bit about this year and how the ARA has made some changes, how things have been going. I think, the biggest story in motorsport this year for rally is, Yari Matty coming over and racing for Toyota was awesome for Olympus. So, the fact that he won is like crazy. And then you look at Travis who can't stop crashing, who
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that this year.
Yeah, he crashed his snowdrift. We saw that one. And then he rolled at Olympus. So like it's like just insane. And then
Yeah.
now we're seeing Leah Block come up, which was awesome to see her race at Snowdrift too. And like she's really been crushing it. There's just so many stories happening, and I feel like from where the ARA was, it just keeps growing, and like it's starting to not be such a niche motorsport in the US anymore. Whereas it used to be like BRC was like it and everything else was like
Right.
whatever, it's like now it's actually like coming up to the level of all these other events, Grid Life, Formula Drift, like all these events that are getting a lot of attention. Like I think too, like people are getting hyped just about motorsports, so they want to be out and they're like, what, this event I can just go and just show up, and it's
Right.
like it's like it's
Yeah.
awesome, you're so used to having to pay all this money to like go to something, and like rallies just like, please come, it's
Yeah,
happening
just
either
go
I
way.
think
stay
there's
in the woods.
levels to
Cars
it
are gonna
too,
go
though.
past.
I mean, hopefully we don't get to the point where all of a sudden showing up to an ARA event is $50 ticket,
I don't think
and
we'll
it's run
get
by
I
there.
don't
Ticketmaster.
It's
or
too
somebody.
hard. It's too hard with shifting, like with multiple events on multiple stages in the woods. Like it's like, what are you going to put a volunteer at every corner of the track? Like you would never
Yeah,
be able to
that's
contain
true.
it. You know?
It's
Yeah.
and that's probably the biggest reason why it's still it's kind of like, if you're from Pennsylvania, you go to Knoebels for an amusement park because there's no cost to get in. You just
Yeah.
pay for the ticket as
Mhm.
you watch, ride stuff. It's very similar. Like I don't think rally will ever truly be able to get to that. And to be honest, I hope it never does, because you
Yeah.
want the people to show up. You want the people to come out. You want them to come out and see it. You want them to get hyped up, right? Park exposés and the park firms they're usually just packed with people. It's wild to
Yeah.
see how many people show up. And you get people that go to these. I mean, we went to Snowdrift this year. Ironically, we were talking about this before we started. We were set up at literally right next to you guys at Snowdrift, and yeah, right to somewhere behind you there. Yep, right there.
Yes, there you go.
And it was wild because the amount of people that show up there, and they're like, "I never knew this was here," and like you get that everywhere. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
STPR is in like what 3 weeks, and the second week in July, and there's still people that show up and they're like, I never knew this was here. And this is its 50th year.
Crazy. So crazy. And like what's cool too is that like because of what rally is, it's like just gonna keep going, and you're gonna keep
Yes.
getting more and more stories out of it, and then it'll just grow naturally. Like anything that is free right now, I feel like people are like, I'm in, I'll be there. It's like so.
Yeah.
But at the same
it
time,
helps.
like Subaru, like the one thing about rally and about these park exposés that I love, my favorite part is like you go to Boxer Fest or you go to Wicked Big Me. Travis Pastrana is sitting behind a booth signing a million things. The line is a mile long. You
Yes.
even when you run into them, they're kind of like, "Ugh, I don't like, I got enough going on today. It's like you go to Snowdrift, there's a couple hundred people at the park expose, and there's probably about 40 of them around Travis, and he's just hanging out. He's just talking to people. He's being like one of the guys. And like, I just love that
The
diverse.
diehards are there.
It's just,
Yes.
I just love that change. Like, I think it's like, dude, like when you're in Michigan, right? Up where they hold Snowdrift, he's probably the biggest name to enter that town ever all year, So like everybody comes out and gets to meet him, and like it's super cool and chill, and like I just love that. So
Yeah. And that's aside of that, like that's one of my favorite things. But the other thing that I love about like park exposés is that you get all the grassroots guys up there too, right? And those guys,
Mhm.
they have their own mini fan base at all of these events. Like if you go and, go go look for Mike Cessna in his BMW, right? You're gonna find a small group of people that he'll see probably every single event.
Yeah.
You've got the guys at Vilco Motorsports, which are also right here in Pennsylvania, about probably about 30 minutes south of me. And those guys, they have a small little fan base that show up, and those guys are always doing something interesting, I should say, during the park exposés, which just kind of entertains the fans.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
there's all those different niches out there, and each of the teams has their own little dynamic, but it's neat to see that not everybody just floods Travis, or they don't just flood Leah.
Yeah.
They see everybody. And one of the other things that I like is that honestly, Travis and Leah, they come to the park kind of at the end, and I think they do that on purpose
Yeah.
because they're letting the rest of the grassroots guys get showered with fans first, and
Yeah.
then they show up.
Oh,
So,
we bum rushed Ethan.
boy.
Matt, I have to tell you, I just pulled up my Snowdrift folder.
Boy,
Eh,
there it is. There it
Yeah.
is.
I
Wait, is
did
that me
not
backing in?
Yeah, I did not know. My buddy Harsh, who was taking all the pictures, he got pictures of you backing in and the car there.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's the black Vivio, and that's one of two that I have. So that was the one that showed up at one point. Gosh, 3, 4 years ago, I had my own automotive repair shop, and I did work for a local dealership. And he's like, dude, he's like, you're a Subaru guy. He's like, I got an interesting car for you. And he pulled up, and I looked at that, and I was like, I can't remember what that is, but I'm buying it off of you. And so next thing you know, it was mine. And it's gutted. It has a Brid Lomax seat in it for the driver. It has a generic racing seat for the passenger, no interior otherwise. And other than the vinyl livery stuff that I put on it and the, half authentic front license plate, I really didn't do much to the car yet. So,
I love the plate. That's
so
awesome.
I actually did that as a kind of I wanted to buy a authentic plate from Japan,
Huh.
but I couldn't find any that just really fit what I was going for. And I wanted to play into Subaru's own little play on words, right? Because the model is Vivio, right? And in Japan, K cars can't be more than 660 cc's,
Mhm.
VI, and then 660, right? So
Wow.
they
That's awesome.
actually that's where the idea came from is that they wanted to make a
Really
joke about
cool.
it. So I actually did it one further, right? So the plate at the top there, it has the Gunma Prefecture uh, kanji on it, and then I classed it according to what I could find in my research. That car would have been classed as either a 5.8 or I think 5 or 4 something, with how they class their cars. The single Hiragana character, I can't remember which one I picked, but I picked one that I found consistently across K cars in Japan. And then the .658 is literally just a play on the fact that it's 658 cc.
That's awesome.
So
I'm almost positive we actually talked uh, right after I think we got finished setting up, and
we might have.
as some of our hands were slowly thawing, I'm pretty sure I poked my head over and I saw you, and I was like, wait a minute. And that's before the crowd showed up. I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, what is this thing?
Well, while we're here, I'll show you guys. We were very cold. There's our booth.
Yes.
And I got pictures of them like setting up the event and stuff. We were there
That's
so
awesome.
early. Dude, we got no sleep, and our buddy was like, "No, they told us we have to be there by like 6:30 in the morning." And I was like, that can't be right, like what? So then we get there and
That's what the marshal told him, apparently,
Yep.
or one of the organizers. Yeah.
and then we get there and the ARA isn't even there. And I'm like, yo, clearly this is not the right
Yeah.
And then
I
we got
wasn't
asked to block the parking lot, which humbly was a really cool moment for us. I had just outfitted my Outback with a bunch of amber strobe light set up and configured it
Nice.
all in the Diode Dynamic app. So I was like, "Ooh, this is a perfect opportunity to test this out." and put it into basically like emergency mode.
Nice.
Perfect. I pulled up, and even the marshal's like, "You got the perfect vehicle for this. We're glad we asked you guys to block it."
Yeah.
That's funny. So yeah, and
Yeah.
it was wild setting up for that. So and
Mhm,
that day, the first day, because this is day 2, this was Saturday
mhm.
stuff. On day 1, when we were in the other town, I can't remember right now. I was set up on
Lewiston?
the total opposite side of town, in Park Exposé. And
Uh-huh.
it was wild because I showed up there with the half ARA style livery, and so many people thought I was competing.
Oh,
And I was like, next year, next year.
dude,
So
I could not stop looking at this Porsche. This thing was awesome.
yeah, that thing was, when I saw them, when I saw it there, I was like, they're racing that? Wow.
Yeah.
That is ballsy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I thought they did pretty good. I mean, there was a couple spots where you could tell that, being rear wheel drive and on snow tires isn't the greatest combination, but
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I was watching them kinda closely, and I saw that they really struggled in a couple areas, but at the same time, like, more power to you. I would love to see
Hey,
this again, like
respect bringing a rear-wheel drive car out to Snowdrift. I mean, we all talked about it kinda I guess the night back at the Airbnb after the final day, just, kinda recapping, as a group, we were like, "Man, I think everyone can agree the all-wheel drives kinda shined." I mean, it's no question
well
that, this
well,
is their
because
environment, you know what
well,
I
well,
not
mean? Like, this is what they
I
they
I
they
will
they
say,
uproar.
this Porsche crashed less times than Travis. I'll just say that. Yeah, it was
Hey!
sorry, Trav. Well, so it's funny. So did you see the recap of Scully where he almost crashed into Pastrana?
yes, I did watch
Yeah,
that. That
that
was
was an
hilarious.
amazing clip.
So it was so funny, right? So we were up there. So I had literally, I think probably 2, 3 weeks ago before that event, that's when Alistair's episode for my podcast with him had aired. So we ran into him at Park Expose and was talking to him a few times, and I'd actually brought, if you guys have been following, if you guys have noticed too, Alistair's been having a Mr. Sloppy with him lately.
Mhm.
I brought Mr. Sloppy up to Snowdrift just to kind of come and hang out with us, for the event. So he was actually with us. So that night after that event, like, Alistair came running over with a GoPro, and he was like, "Guys, you got to check this out." And he was like, we're like watching on the GoPro of him, like he's like, "Oh, here it is." He's like scrolling through the video on the like GoPro. You've never scrolled through a 20-minute video on a GoPro by your
Yeah.
hand in like 3-degree weather, it's entertaining. So he's scrolling, he's like, "Oh, here it is, here it is." And we all like crowd around his GoPro and we watch him do this like 360 bank around him and then just, to Travis and see ya.
Hey,
My
I'm
god.
old enough to remember when you couldn't scroll back and you had to watch the whole video and be like, "All right, here it is, here it is, here it is." Everyone could I have to replay this whole video if you guys missed this.
My gosh.
Yeah, this was
There's no scrubber. You couldn't do that. We had no
Yep.
touch screens. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
god.
Oh god, yeah. No, you had
The
to have the
original, or
external
rather, the
screen.
original GoPro had no screen at all. You couldn't replay anything. You
My
had to plug
Hero
it in your
3 my
computer.
Hero 3, you
Yeah.
had to use an external screen to plug in,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and all it did was just show you what was on the screen. It wasn't a
You
playback.
might as well just put it on your computer. Just might as well download it.
And you know what was so interesting to me about Snowdrift was that the CEO of GoPro is racing, and, like,
Yeah.
realistically, like, I feel like GoPro has been on the way down for quite a while. Like, they're just like DJI kicked up, and they've been taking a bunch of their customers, and, like, you have all these other
Insta360.
yeah, like, it like,
That's the
I
name right now.
I feel like Red
It
Bull
is.
still pushes GoPro real hard and they still use them for everything, but I feel like at some point, right, like, people are just going with the cheaper thing that's on Amazon that they could just get and, like
So I had a not a deep dive. So Justin Jenny is Connor Martell's photographer, videographer, for his stuff. Him and I at Boone last year, I had a GoPro on a tripod like yards away from me, and they were coming up to film Connor come through, and Justin noticed that my camera was like jacked up. It, like, I guess somebody bumped it or whatever, and he started yelling over at me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna fix your camera." And so he's like, I'm adjusting this setting. He's like, "What do you want it wide?" And so we're like yelling across this thing and whatnot. So
My gosh.
I ended up talking to him a lot more later that night at Park Expose, and found out they really only run GoPros. Like everything Connor's content is either a GoPro or his DSLR.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So and he loves them. He said I think if I remember correctly, he kind
There's a
of
reason.
worked for them
There's
for
a
a little
reason for
while.
them. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing I was thinking about immediately is as somebody who has grown up with GoPros, and now the new kid on the block is the Insta360, which no question, they kind of took the 360 market. They're the GoPro comparison of 360 to Fusion has a lot of problems. My
It
point
does.
is though, GoPro though has always stuck their name branding on one thing is those cameras. As someone who rides motorcycles, like I've had the thing fall off my helmet and been fine. Like those things are built action tough. And
They
to
are.
this day, yeah, China has yet to really come, with the Amazon knockoffs for $120, with 4K, they promise, with 20 frames per second, right?
Speaking speaking of work, I have a 5K like handheld camera. Came with the is a Temu special. I'm not gonna lie, right? I was it was stupid late. I needed a new camera. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna buy this, right? And I bought one of these things. I tell you, it says it's 5K. The white balance is so bad. It reminds me of filming with like a VHS camera. But dude, I tell you what, the footage it gives me is so like nostalgia making. I was like,
My gosh.
wow, you know what? For an $80 camera, this is probably the
Yes.
coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
It is
have their
not a
place. Again, they have their place. I think the people though that really are trying to film any form of actual, truly cinematographical or cinematography level
yeah.
video, they know. Okay, a GoPro is actually going to give you the results that
Yeah.
they the specs that they put out are the specs that that camera will actually produce. And that's something that, the $80 camera on Amazon can never compete with when they tell you it's 6K or 8K
Yeah.
or whatever.
Exactly.
For
Well,
$80, you're like, it's false.
yeah, exactly. I'll have to send you guys the clip, but there's one clip that I got of one car. I was standing at the thing and I panned with it and like the blur effects and all that, dude. It looked like I was filming from like the 80s, like Group B stuff, but it was a
That
2012
could be
or
cool.
2014 that went flying
Yeah.
past.
My gosh.
Yeah.
But
And
you
that's
know what?
cool in its own right.
Justin Jenny actually said that this right here is probably one of the things that he's starting to use more because it actually records just as well. And that's scary too.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
crazy.
It's
I have
getting
a
to that
lot
point.
I have a lot of my footage from this 6-year-old cell phone that is still what I produce stuff with.
Yeah.
And at one point, funny story, 90% of my content has all been produced on this phone.
That's awesome.
Everything. Up to
Nice.
including my first season and a half of podcasts.
Wow.
Now I have a proper computer.
Yeah. Well, listen, it comes with time. I feel like when I listen back to our first episodes, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I
Like
don't
how
want to relive season 1.
Yeah. Matt, I had a question for you.
Okay. Shoot.
Who do you think would be another big name that they could bring into the ARA that would bring more attention to it? That it would be, so let's say, somebody that you could bring in as a driver. Dave, I want you to think about this too, because I have a name in mind, but
thinking.
I think that because there's certain people that I feel like would be perfect to bring in as a driver, and it would bring a lot more attention to the sport and a lot more, money and fans and everything.
I'm gonna be honest. I truly almost don't follow outside of American Rally enough to really answer this question.
Okay.
Only because, right, my focus is on a lot of the guys here in the US. So if I was gonna say anybody, I'm gonna say it's me because of the crazy nonsense that I'm about to do.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of some of the names that I've seen recently over.
Well, it doesn't have to be like an actual like, but
So
my
we're just talking kind of anybody, right? Because obviously at one point, Subaru brought in, Brandon Semenuk, who was a
yeah.
BMXer, not a rally
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah, like
Okay.
my pick, I'll tell you mine first. My pick is I would love to see Von Gittin Jr. come into rally. RTR is an amazing brand. I think that Von Gittin has done a ton of work for
Interesting.
he's sponsored by Monster. He would be kind of filling the gap. And like, while Monster already is sponsoring Leah Block, obviously, it's kind of cool to have two of them racing. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would be like almost like when you have F1, you have two Red Bull cars. It's kind of cool to see like two of the teams step up and kind of race. I know he's a Ford guy and like sticks to a lot of the Mustang stuff,
Right.
but I
Well,
mean,
then you could put him in a Rally 3 car.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he would be a cool name. Obviously, I think for like a lot of like notoriety and to get the most people involved, maybe somebody like
Mhm.
Cletus McFarlane would be like somebody, but he's
I
not the
Mm,
I don't feel Cletus is the right fit for Rally. I mean,
at that rate, you might as well say Mr. Beast should be a rally driver.
I
Hey,
mean,
Mr. Beast would bring everyone and he'd make them compete for money and they
and
die if they don't win.
and yeah, I was just gonna say, how many times would they lose the briefcase
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
stage?
I'll tell you right now, this is how it would open. It would be I've collected 100 rally drivers and I'm going to make them drive towards a cliff at 200 miles an hour. The first one to stop before the cliff is going to win $1 million. It would be
And somehow all 200 of them would end up just driving off because their brakes are gone.
little do they know I've planted spikes everywhere.
Right, right. Little did
It's
I
Mario Kart, there's turtle shells, Actually,
I've got
that could be really
it
cool.
might
I've got
it might be too soon, but he just puts culverts everywhere.
I've gathered 10 rally drivers, and the last one to stop touching Travis Pastrana is going to win $10 million.
I think Travis would end that one.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
walk away. Nope,
So
y'all
I'm
lose.
out of here.
But like
Yeah.
that's the thing, right?
Okay.
Like it's this is I'm going somewhere with this, right? Like Grid Life has realized that entertainment sells. They're making it into like Forza. Like they're trying to bring music to it. They're trying to make it like an actual like EDM event slash like watch some cars do some cool. They are merging things together and they're realizing that if you draw people in with the concert and the music aspect of it, they're gonna see the cars and get involved in Grid Life.
Yes.
We need daily driven exotics with there with some Lamborghinis and Ferraris and doing donuts.
You look at Formula Drift.
I wanna see them
Adam
rally a
LZ, who's like
Lambo.
Adam LZ's drawing these people into Formula Drift, and they're making it an event, and it's fun. And I think the ARA is like, how do we do that? How do we find our space there?
I know
Mm.
who I would love to see come and drive Rally. It'd be totally not his forte, but Hurt.
Well, that's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good
Listen,
one.
listen. I mean, dude, over the years with his drifting and stuff like that, like his skills are there. Like I think, and to some degree, I think drift drivers would be some of the best people to kind of cross into rally because they understand the mechanics of what happens on loose surface. It's not
They
necessarily
understand
loose
that they
surface.
understand that breakaway point.
Yes,
You know,
they
is what
understand what
you're
happens when the
describing.
car starts to lose grip, which is
and
kind of
and
the same
how
way.
much angle and how much speed can you regain control in that corner to recorrect that car? If you
Correct.
throw it in at 60 miles an hour, you're going to hit the other wall. Throw it in at 55, you're going to come out and scrape the rear bumper, which everybody wants.
Right,
Now,
right.
something I had an
It's
idea
very
about
precise.
that I think is kind of 50-50. The thing is, right, you want to make ARA very exciting. You want to make it a big event. You want people in the woods to have fun and like, they see these cars fly by and then it's over. I think what's kind of tough is that WRC, this probably wouldn't work because in WRC, it's very like racing, like pure, everything is like, people are there for the event the way it's supposed to be run. Well, America, we do things a little different. We jump dirt bikes over the White House lawn, So I'm thinking, in my eyes, I'm thinking, like, imagine you had a rally team that's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of ARA, right? So you have a rally team that their whole job is to either come down ahead of time or after. And where all the people are sitting, they do donuts and they're doing fun things in those areas. And then they take off to the next area where all the people are and they're, shooting fireworks out of the car or something, like I know it sounds like crazy in
No, it
theory,
doesn't.
but
No,
but
it
I
doesn't sound
think
crazy.
but I think that like that could be the thing that people are like, I love, let's say you have Steve-O driving a jackass car and like,
Yeah.
Steve-O comes ripping down and he's doing all this crazy nonsense. It's like, it's cool, right? Because you're getting your clip of like the really crazy guy at the rally event. But then the event happens and you get to see all the real drivers come through. Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of
Okay.
like
Yeah,
thinking,
listen, you're not wrong, right? Okay. Small shameless plug.
yeah,
What you just talked about, the whole entertainment aspect of things, right? That is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm trying to build with Drop a Gear. And you kind of hit the nail on the head with the kind of whole Harlem Globetrotter like pre-runner type thing of an event, right? Last year I pitched the idea of bringing the Vivio to an event and running it as one of the sweep cars in the beginning because I wanted
okay.
to basically drive this tiny little rally car through the spots, right? And
Yeah. It would have
basically
been
like
sick.
at the spectator spots, roll the window down and be like, all right, hey guys, hey, the full size rally cars are coming,
You
and
gotta
then
get
just
the
keep
Queen's
going.
wave.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
okay.
do this
So
the whole
Oh my
time.
gosh.
so that was kind of one of the ideas because I said, guys, if we could entertain the fans, like some of these people show up to these
100%.
stages hours ahead of time, right? How cool would it be that during sweep, before even maybe just before sweep, because you have the three sweeps that come through, they come through starting almost an hour ahead of time, right? So you could literally do a pre-sweep entertainment run, right? That person is essentially kind of pre-sweeping it
Yeah.
or in
Yeah.
between, say, the first sweep car and the second, right? Because second sweep car comes through, that means that, the media and the spectators basically need to be in play because it's not long before the zero car
100%.
comes through. So somewhere in there, right, would be the perfect opportunity because it entertains the fans. It gets them excited for what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that I wanna do with Drop a Gear, right? I wanna do entertainment things like that, and I honestly seeing Grid Life doing that stuff, it's kind of, obviously they are doing it, I'm not yet, but that's exactly the kind of stuff I wanna kind of do entertainment stuff that then leads to the event,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and bring the big names out there, like, "Hey, come to this thing, we're gonna do Grid Life Extra or whatever," and it's just a bunch of just randomness.
Yeah.
But it's entertaining and then they get to see it and then it could be like it's almost like it's almost like the opening act to a concert, right? You have the
Yeah.
pre-show and then you get the main event.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I think it would be hilarious if you had the Vivio and like each one of the spectators spots you pull up and you get stuck and everybody has to come and push you out, you know? And it's like, go, go, go. You just like,
So there's at this point in the channel, there's a very good possibility that well, I shouldn't say there is a good possibility. The push right now is 2027. We are racing a Vivio in Rally.
whoa.
So
Hell yeah.
I'm already in talks with ARA with a bunch of different people through the ARA to get the technical specs. And I just today dropped a little bit of a bombshell on the channel. So I'm going to drop that bombshell here. We are working towards importing an already built FIA spec caged Vivio from Poland.
Whoa.
It was built in
Wow.
2023. The guys at MGR Rally built this thing. They basically built it to do a Colin McRae a tribute for him doing the African Safari Rally. And unfortunately, COVID happened and they didn't get to actually run it in the Safari Rally. The thing is still absolutely decked out like Colin McRae's version of the Vivio that he drove in the
Yeah.
Safari Rally in 93. I'm working on getting this car brought over to the States. We're going to get it compliant for ARA racing and we're going to race that thing in 27. And I'm going to leave the Colin McRae livery on it and just add some drop a gear flair and my ground crew for my Patreon, as well as any of the baseline supporters that jump in on any of the grassroots supporters that jump in on the campaign for it. So yeah, a little bit of a bombshell on that one, but yeah,
Matt,
I
that's awesome.
let me see if I can pull
Matt,
up a picture here just to.
in 2027, I I'm just warning you, I'm gonna ask you if I can be part of your pit crew because I wanna be there in the pits when this thing pulls in. Whoa, look at that thing, that's so sick.
That is awesome.
So
My
yeah,
gosh.
so that is the exact car that we are working to bring over.
Dude, that's awesome. I think that would be such a fun rally car. Beautiful.
They have rallied it already a couple times, and we would be getting the car with basically a mountain of spares. So I'm super excited to get this thing over here. I'm actually launching a campaign. We're gonna do about a we're gonna do a typical crowdfunding type thing. But basically everybody who pitches into the to the project is going to have some sort of stake in what we do with it
That is
for the most of
so
2027.
that
So
is so freaking sick.
yeah, so that is the actual car. It's actually a left-hand drive because it's a European Vivio. So the Vivio was a JDM car, sold in Japan, but they sold it in Europe as well. So as you can see, it's actually left-hand drive, not right-hand drive. But it is a Vivio. It is a KK4. It's all-wheel drive. It's supercharged, just like mine. But this one already has a FIA spec cage in it that should only need maybe a couple extra braces to bring it up to ARA compliance, as well as the only thing that they told me it needs is the seats need to be updated because they're expired, the belts and the fuel tank. So but yeah, so that is the car that we're bringing over, and I am essentially selling spaces for people to put their names right on the side, just like I did with my black car and all of that stuff. And my ground crew on Patreon is going to have their names. I haven't decided where yet, but
Dude,
they'll be on there too.
don't worry. Dave and I are in on branding this thing. That we are gonna be all over this. This is so sick. Dude, this is gonna be amazing. As a car for I literally am like, I cannot believe this is gonna be so awesome. Because like you go to all these rally events, right? And it's the weird cars that stick out. It's seeing a Lexus or some, like the Porsche was kind of like crazy.
Right.
Seeing some of like the Ford Focus, like the old ones and stuff, like the egg looking, like there's just so many weird cars. The old Audi that was there,
Right.
I love those cars. And I feel like this is crazy. Like this would be so sick to see there.
So I just sent you some other photos of the black one that we were up until today. The black one that you guys saw at Snowdrift. I actually had it at a rallycross event at the beginning of the year here locally. This is basically photos that people took while I was pushing this car to its absolute limit. You don't drive this car like a normal rally car. That's my quote unquote hero shot, even though it's technically a screw up. It
That
just looks cool.
that is awesome.
So you don't drive this car like you do a normal, car, right? Because it's so light.
Oh my gosh.
It's so you have to momentum drive this thing. That shot is crazy for me because I didn't actually feel that tire lift off the ground.
Oh my god.
But
That's
yeah,
insane.
so I found a lot of the limits with this car, and then actually at the end of May, I was out in Illinois with a creator on Instagram called Full Auto Al. He does a lot of stuff with a supercharged Forester that he built in his spare time, and we raced on his homebrew racetrack that he has on the farm fields. I have a lot more video of that stuff on the channel and stuff like that, but we put that thing through its paces there, and I had to really drive this car to a new limit to try and even match the pace that this bigger car could do. And so I'm excited for a more technical rally because while being out in Illinois with this car, it was a good test of things. I figured out the best way to pendulum turn the thing, a little bit more aggressively. But because the surfaces were basically less dug up than this, like it was literal field grass, so it wasn't even really dirt. It was basically
Yeah.
packed down and torn up grass in some of the spots, and some of the rocks I thought were going to just completely destroy my tires. But
Oh man.
but yeah, so that was a fun event. I learned a lot about the car. Really just moving forward on how I'm going to drive this thing. But at this rallycross event, I actually put down 4 seconds faster overall time than a BMW 330xi. So that was kind of a nice win in my book.
Oh my gosh.
So
Dude, that's awesome. I think that, I don't even know what to say because just looking at pictures of your car doing this and just imagining what the other car is gonna do is, like, insane.
yeah, now
They're gonna cower in fear.
so that's honestly my plan, and maybe now is the time that I tell the world that I'm doing this because I really feel that in limited class with this car, I'm gonna really shake up the limited class Subarus because it's such a different car, right? I'm not saying I am the next Travis Pastrana or anything like that, but looking at it from my standpoint, like there's a very good the way that I'm seeing it, the way that the numbers are telling me, the way that the car feels, I can carry a lot of speed through big turns. Whereas
Yeah.
these 4,000 and 5,000 pound cars have to scrub a lot of speed. And I just feel that even though they're going to blast down the straight way faster than me because it tops out at 80,
Yeah.
I'm going to make up for it where I don't have to slow down as much. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put it through
Now
the ultimate test next year.
now does being supercharged hinder you because you can't run in an NA class?
So
Because you're
I
running
would still
against.
run into the limited, I would have to run in the limited all-wheel drive class. So
Mhm.
I'd be limited four-wheel drive, just like Travis. So I would literally be competing against guys like Travis and Pietkowski and, trying to think who else is in limited four-wheel drive right now. But yeah, like I would be directly competing against some of these guys. And the crazy thing is that
You'd beat
honestly,
Travis, obviously. You'd finish.
that would be wild. I might lose that invite,
Well, if he
but we'll
keeps
see.
crashing, we'll see.
Well, yeah, yeah. But what's wild to me is that like because of restrictor sizes that are necessary for forced induction cars, the Vivio's throttle body is like this.
You're fine.
It's already smaller than the restrictor size, so I don't
You
have to
you
run
might
a
be able to
restrictor.
you might be able to increase it.
No.
Ooh, I like that. I like that thinking.
Yeah.
If you're
It
undersized, you could always go bigger and you're still within spec.
Right, and within limited class. But well, see though, within limited class though, it still has to be a factory option or something that's factory available.
Call
Till
call
they've
call the
That's why
factory.
well,
Call the
that's why
factory.
that's
The ask them to make you something.
everything is
listen, I
factory
need
until
them
they check.
exactly.
Yeah,
Buy
yeah.
I
buy
need
the
them
IP, buy the IP, start the company back up, and then you can produce your own parts. Okay, hey,
listen,
have you
Dave, I gotta build a
guys?
Rally car first before I
Does
can buy a
does
company.
anyone know about Formula One? Like, come on. It's all interpretations of the rules. So if you buy
I
a
mean,
defunct company that's worth nothing, maybe you buy it for 2,500. I don't know. Maybe you buy the intellectual property and all of a sudden now you are the company and now you could produce your own production level parts, right?
man,
Great.
I
They never saw this coming.
I guess that
ARA
counts.
never saw this coming. Come on.
That's true. I mean, look at Sam Albert when he put that Ferrari engine in his Subaru. He literally put that thing together to the absolute bare limits of what the class would allow.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, Formula One, they have carbon fiber weaves that their rear spoiler bends to give them more downforce, but is illegal, but it's still legal when you put the weight on it and it doesn't deflect. But then, you know what? Next year, we're going to change the rules so it's banned. By the time you figure this out, it'll be banned. That's basically what they tell each other in competition. That's what you have to do.
and I
Hey,
gotta
by the
well
time you
listen,
guys buy a defunct company, you guys are going to already be losing to my Vimeo. Come on.
I gotta be a little careful though, right? Because Subaru Motorsports of America has been watching this car. They took pictures of me at Snowdrift. They posted that video. They found me at one of the Marshall points. I went out to go film, and they took pictures of it, right? And the caption was, "I go to rally events and find rare Subarus. I don't know who you are, but I found you." You know that. So they posted it up on their Instagram and on their socials, and so like we've kind of had some back and forth together with that. When I told them I was going to rally the thing, they were like, "Make us proud," and I'm like, "Oh boy." So,
Man.
but And I even told Lance Smith at Snowdrift, I ran into him in the warming tent, and I was like, "Hey, Lance, do you wanna build a video?" So, yeah, so, I've been greasing some wheels, so to speak.
Yeah,
There's gray areas in motorsport, man.
there is.
That's what motorsport is. It is
One
comprised
giant
of
gray
gray
area.
areas. Yeah.
What do you think Toyota is trying to do in rally? Do you think that they're trying to really step up and compete? I feel like they are really trying to like step in and like change the landscape and like they want to be involved in everything now. And for them to bring over a big name and like win, now I'm like, do they just keep riding that train and like
I
and who do they secure as like their driver if they do, you know?
So, ironically, I feel like Toyota's a day late and a dollar short here because when Subaru dominated the sport with
Mhm.
the open class cars, right? I loved watching the open class cars, don't get me wrong, right? I love seeing those things out there, but like when they started running, when Travis decided to switch to limited, right?
Mhm.
And then Semenuk left and Lance decided we're not running anybody else in an open class car anymore, right? They're focusing on the limited class cars now because they want to actually produce, if you look into it, right, they're trying to start producing cars essentially for more people to buy so that
Mhm.
other people can start buying these cars and rallying them. And for Toyota to basically show up with like RC2 level cars that are, competing that would be competing against the open course, the open class car that now they're competing against really they're now just competing against, like Grushka and Scully and Booth in those cars. And if Connor comes back from his WRC stint and continues to run an RC2, then they'll be up against him. So and well, and technically Leah now because she's in an RC2 car.
Yeah.
So with those like now like, I think honestly, now we're gonna see instead of being the open class, be in the competitive space, it's the RC2 class.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I don't know if Toyota is coming in I still feel like Toyota's coming in late to the game. I mean, they're still winning, decently right now, right? But Scully's not far behind them. And we're what, 4 events into the year? They're still, we've got well, they're not well, what's the next one? Rally Colorado? I don't think that's not a
Yeah,
national this year.
Rally Colorado, and then I think STPR is the week after.
Yeah, but SCPR is a super regional,
It's the
so
regional, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't remember if
So,
Colorado's a national this year,
I think Colorado
or
is
is that another regional?
national?
I don't
I
know, I'd
don't
have to look it
remember.
up. But
Yep.
anyway, like, so you've got that, like, obviously, like, Boone and then Over Mountain,
Yeah.
and then you have
Mhm.
LSPR, right? Those are the last big ones. And with the way Leah has been doing, good God, she
Yeah.
is crushing it this year. I'm actually super impressed that she's back in Rally. I said it when she left Rally. She never should have left. However, despite what people think, I honestly think that her time at Williams Racing actually did her a huge benefit, right? Because she learned all of the aspects of grip racing, and performed, pretty well. But coming back to rally now, her times are increased, her speed, all of those things, right? Because she now has a much deeper understanding of what the car is doing.
Yeah.
And I think that also goes to show because, obviously Ken would had all of his kids learning this stuff and practicing these different driving techniques. A lot of them all did karting before they got into this. And then they moved up to, the side by sides and the things like that. So
Yeah.
and now you've got Mika coming in, which is wild, and I think that's cool just to see the blocks kind of coming back into
The
rally.
future's bright for the block lineage.
Oh my God,
Safe
yes.
to say
Yeah.
that rest in peace, but that name will still carry on, like not
100%.
just in lineage, but just or in history,
Well,
but just yeah, and what it's gonna produce. Like
well,
there's
Yeah.
gonna be a block name in motorsport for a very, very
Very long
long
time.
time.
you know
Yep.
what was
Hmm.
cool too, Dave, is they at Wicked Big Meat, they had like his own corner with his racing suit and his helmet and
Hmm.
everything. And so like that's the cool thing about it too is like they're bringing him on the road and like showing off his stuff and like they're keeping him alive, and I think that it's really cool they do that. And what they put right in front of him, which, was awesome in front of his area, was they put the Colin McRae Hawkeye that VSC
Mm.
rebuilt. Dude, what a cool car. And I have to say, like, I was debating, I was on the fence about going to Wicked Big because I always run Boxer Fest and I was like, do I want to run another event? And I was like, maybe I'll just go to enjoy it.
There you go.
And so I did that, but I was like, the second that I saw they were bringing the rally cars, I bought the ticket immediately. I was like, I have to
That's
see
it. I'm
this
going.
thing in real life because this is gonna be incredible. And so I'm sure they'll bring it to Boxer Fest, but like, dude, I mean, just like my thought process is, what does this mean for Subaru? Are they just like doubling down? Like, we are supporting rally. We're bringing these rally cars. We've rebuilt them. We want people to see the lineage and the history, and like this is stuff normally you would think that WRC fans would care about, but they're bringing it to Boxer Fest and Wicked Big, where it's like these people are here because they're just Subaru fans.
Well, if you think about it though, too, right? So that car, the Colin McRae No Fear car, right? It was August 2006 when he had it at X Games and rolled it, right? The iconic roll, and he just kept going, right? Typical Colin McRae, just keep your foot down.
Yep.
But it was also we're also coming up into that time frame for when he passed. So I feel like they're also paying that tribute.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, in this own weird way of thinking about it, right? I'm now bringing a Colin McRae liveried Vivio into the fray at
True.
an ironic time.
Yeah.
And so it's almost kind of giving me goosebumps as I'm saying this, right? Because like here we are, we're paying this massive amount of respect to these legendary drivers within the sport,
Well,
right?
it's 100% an homage. I'm sure you could agree. It's none of this is a. I'm just trying to, as the kids say, steal some style. It's like no, we're
Yeah.
we're trying to pay our respects.
Right.
I think there comes that point where doing a replication of something when done right and within the right mindset, I think can be done very appropriately and very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I think that, Colin in himself is like one of the biggest names that's known, but I think that like the history of rally and like you were talking about, we were talking before the podcast about the rally history and the museum coming together and stuff, and it's like
Mhm.
I think it's so important to keep this stuff alive, and like
yes.
thank God for the last 20
Yeah.
years we have video footage of this stuff, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
we don't have to pour through the same like 8 clips of Group B.
yeah, yeah. But it's cool because, like, again, like, you're taking the history and you're building on it. It's the same thing
Yeah.
as everything, right? You look at how all sports have come around. Everybody knows the most famous teams of the NHL that have won cups, and like,
Right.
everybody knows the most famous football teams that have won rings, and it's like you like throughout history you just build on the franchise. And I feel like with rally it's kind of hard, right? Because it's an expensive sport. You can't really always have a franchise driver who's going to stick around long enough to keep driving. Subaru has always backed their big names and has been a big name in the industry. So I think that if they draw in a little bit more money and these guys have a little bit more support, they could be franchise drivers and they can get that support behind them, and they could have like you could have an Adam LZ of ARA. You know what I mean?
But that's
Like,
also unsustainable to a certain point, not to cut you off. I'm sorry, but like you think about that's happened in other sporting events where you have a dynasty of some, the Lakers or, the Patriots or whoever, and they run a dynasty for so many years. That's short-lived.
go
I
Well,
Pats.
yeah.
mean, next year.
Well, okay, but Dave, you make a good point, right? And that's the same thing even with Subaru, right? Subaru
Mhm.
dominated rally. Subaru Motorsports has dominated rally for how long, right?
Yeah.
And
Audi
as
had their place too.
right, and in the Group B era, into the slightly right after that, you still had Mitsubishi in the fray,
Renault.
and yeah, yep, and now, well, and they're making. Or actually, no, I was thinking of the Peugeots. No, is it? No, 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 sorry, I'm thinking of the Skodas now. Because Skoda's really started Skoda's really making a big comeback, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, but I did just see, so I'll be interested to see if they ever come over here, right? I just saw the new Lancia that Connor's running for WRC. So,
Yeah.
but again, right, to not go off on a tangent on all that nonsense, right? You talking about the dominations of the sport and other aspects, and this is exactly the same thing, right? We're seeing that shift. Is Toyota going to take over? Is Hyundai going to take over? Because Hyundai has what, four
Dude.
four RC2 cars right now in ARA.
For real.
They're testing.
They're
testing,
pushing
dude.
so hard, and like
Yeah,
they have
They're
good
testing
drivers.
hard.
Well, yeah, because Scully and Patrick are running the newest ones from them. They
Yeah.
upgraded this year, right? Patrick learned that they don't like culverts, you
Yep.
know. Sorry, Patrick, so it's just wild. But like the fact that Hyundai is really pushing into the sport too over the last couple years, right? Because I think it was 22 when Ken ran the I-20 and brought one here. And I think that was he was the first or the second person in ARA to start running the Hyundais. And then shortly after that, you had Revo Presents Green APU started running the Hyundais, and now they're pretty much running them, constantly. Unless one of them's down and they run the Mirage.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like Hyundai has focused in and been like, where can we step up and like be a strong number 2 or maybe even take over into number 1, right? And they're like, well, we don't build drift cars. We are Hyundai. They're like,
Yeah.
we don't build drag cars. We are Hyundai. And they're like, where can we focus in our talents on? And they were like, rally. There's like Subaru owns rally. They're like, we have all of these N vehicles we've been coming out with that make good power. We have all-wheel drive. We have things that people want in a rally car. We're building hatches. Look at the Veloster. That thing was sick.
The
It's like
Veloster and the I-20 are almost the same car.
almost the
Let's be
same car.
real.
So it's like, dude, Hyundai is being so smart because they're like, what is the next F1? What is the next, drifting? Like what is the
Yeah.
next event
Yeah.
that's going to get built up from where it is? And they're like, let's just dive in on ARA. Let's just get our cars in there, get the name out there. Dude, it's brilliant. I mean, I think that them bringing money to the sport not only helps the sport, but like, boom, they get their notoriety immediately just by like investing in it. So I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
I think that like I feel like I have this gut feeling, I've had it for a while, that Toyota, right? They just keep building and they keep building and they keep putting out cars. And you're like, why would they make that? Why would they make this car? I don't really know what they're doing. Why are they remaking the LFA as a Toyota? Why is that happening? They're just doing all this crazy and I just keep thinking to myself, like,
Dave had an epiphany of some sort.
what are they doing?
I keep thinking, like, where is this going? Are they trying to like build all of these cars and test them, and then all of a sudden they're going to enter all of the events? Like, Toyota has the power. They could just like widespread build cars for everything,
And that is all for the first half of our chat with Matt Gold of Drop a Gear Industries. A huge thank you to Matt for hanging out with us, but don't worry, the conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure to tune in next week for part 2, where we dive even deeper. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for the support. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, and let us know your thoughts. We'll catch you guys in the next one.